So in this video today, we're going to look at cue action. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and break down into some simple steps, some key things for you to be thinking about when you're trying to control the cue. So the first part of your cue action starts in the address position. And this is the position that we're in when we first get down to the shot and we've got our tip to the white. Before we start our practice swings or our feathers, this is called the address position when we're just still on the shot. So I'm going to get down into mine and let's have a look at some of the key things that you should be thinking about. So if I get down to this blue here and just stay still a second. So the first thing to note is my back arm, my cueing arm, is nice and vertical. Now this is in a nice neutral position where my arm is just nice and comfortable. And this is important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is when I need to do a full backswing, it means that my arm isn't already extended. I've got plenty of room when I need to pull the cue all the way back to my V, and then I can go through and complete the shot. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that it also allows me in this neutral position to have plenty of follow through. So if I just push forward here and just go through the white until I hit my chest, you can just see that I had plenty of follow through there. So with this neutral position, it just allows you to do two things. The first thing is allows you to have a nice long backswing when you need it on some shots, and it also allows you to go through the shot and complete the shot properly. And then the next thing that's important in the address position, if I just get down to this shot again, is that my tip is nice and close to the white ball like this. And this is important because in a minute when we start the feathers and we're practicing to play this shot, we don't want to be too far away from the cue ball like this, because now we're practicing and that's not where we're going to hit. The object that we're going to hit, which in this case is the cue ball, is quite a bit further away from where we're practicing. So if we're practicing here and then we deliver there, it's much more difficult to get the timing of the shot correct, because we've got all of this area to move forward still before we even get up to the cue ball. So if I just get back up and get back down again, it is quite important that we try and get nice and close to the cue ball in the address position, so that when we practice our feathers and our practice swings in a minute, we're practicing for exactly and precisely where we're about to hit. So that was the address position, the first part of the cue action. The second part I want to look at is the feathers. Now this is important probably for three different reasons. I would say the first reason is that you're moving the cue backwards and forwards, and you're checking to make sure that you're moving that cue backwards and forwards in a straight line and that you're happy that you're delivering the cue correctly. The second reason is that you're looking between the two balls. So in this case, if I was going to pop the blue, I'd be looking between the white ball and the blue ball, and I'd just be checking while I was doing my feathers to make sure that I was happy with my aiming between these two balls and that I was confident that I was going to pop the blue into the corner. And then the third reason would be that you're trying to get a feel for the shot that you're about to play. So if I was potting this blue into this corner and I was going to screw the white back into bulk, when I'm doing my feathers, I would be getting a feel for what that shot's going to feel like when I play it in a second. So I know I'm playing a screw shot, so I would do whatever feathers I require in order for me to feel in my mind what that shot's going to feel like when I actually play it in a second. Now, there's no right or wrong with feathers. Some people do quite slow, deliberate feathers. Some people do feathers that are a bit faster. Some people have got really long ones, and some people have got really short feathers. But the important point is that you just know why you're doing them and what purpose they serve. And as I say, that's for three reasons. The first one is to make sure the cue's going backwards and forwards in a straight line. The second one is to check your aiming between the two balls. And then the third reason is to give you a feel for the shot that you're about to play. So if I get down to this shot now, like we just talked about, I'm in the address position, my arm's nice and vertical, my tip's to the white. I'll do my feathers because I'm playing a screw shot and I'm getting a feel for the shot, checking my aiming, making sure that I'm happy, and then I can pull back and play the shot. So that was steps 1 and 2, and now we're going to have a look at step 3, which is pauses in your cue action. And what I mean by this is that a lot of players don't have any pauses in their cue action at all. So if I just get down to this shot and I show you what you see a lot of players do, If I play to pop this blue and just stun the shot, you see a lot of players and they'll do this and then they'll play the shot. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to try and control this cue just a little bit more, and we're going to implement a couple of pauses and just a couple of things to just give us a little bit of extra control of the cue. So we could just see there that that delivery looked a little bit rushed and it didn't look very controlled. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to try and have a little bit more control over this cue. So there's a lot of different advice out there about where to pause and how to control the cue, but I'm just going to give you today some of the things that I think are important to think about and that I think gives people the most benefit when I'm coaching people. So if I have a look at this blue now and I go to play this shot, what I like to tell people to do is to get down on the shot, start their feathers, do your feathers, make sure that you're checking your aiming and that you're happy with the shot, and then pause at the white and then have a nice controlled backswing and then deliver through the shot. So you can just see there on that second shot, I looked as though I had a lot more control and I looked a lot more composed on the shot. Now, there are also people that say that you should have a pause at the end of your backswing. So you pull the cue back and then you pause and then you deliver the cue. Now, my advice on that would be that I find it much more beneficial to say to players that they do their feathers, they check their aiming, looking between the two balls and making sure that they're comfortable and that the cue is moving in a straight line. And then you have a little pause at the white, and then you start your backswing and have it nice and smooth and controlled, and then deliver the cue. And I find by just controlling that backswing, you naturally have a bit of a transition between the end of your backswing and then starting your delivery. So instead of implementing a deliberate pause at the end of your backswing, by controlling the backswing and having it nice and smooth, I think you naturally just end up with much more cue control. Now, if you're somebody that does find it beneficial to pause at the end of the backswing, that's absolutely fine. If you look at players like Sean Murphy and Stuart Bingham, they have pauses at the end of their backswing and that works absolutely fine for them. But I find for a lot of people that don't do this naturally, it's much more beneficial to address the shot, do your feathers, make sure that you're comfortable with the shot, pause at the white, control your backswing nice and smooth all the way back, and then play the shot. So by this stage, you've hopefully got a bit more understanding of exactly how the cue action is working. And that brings us on to step 4, which is understanding your full range of motion in your cue action. So I'm just going to cue to the side of the white here. But what I mean by that is if I was at the white here in the address position, you need to understand the full range of motion in your action. So that's all the way back to your V on a full backswing, and then all the way through the shot and complete to your chest on a full delivery. So I'm at the white there, all the way back to your V, and all the way through to your chest. And you should be able to repeat that on every shot if you need to. Now obviously some shots don't require that much power. If I was just playing a shot that was about a 3 out of 10 power, I would get down to the white there and I wouldn't use a full backswing, but I would go all the way through to my chest again. So it's just important that you understand your full range of motion in your cue action. You're effectively trying to make sure that you can repeat the motion of your cue action time and time again on every single shot. And now finally, step 5 is going to be hitting from the elbow. Now you've probably heard this terminology before, and I'm just going to try and explain exactly what people mean. And what they mean is that we're going to keep this elbow joint as a fixed point, and we're going to hit the ball from the elbow. So what you see some people do is they have a very short backswing like that, and then they drop all these shoulder muscles through the shot. So they'll do that to get the cue to move forward. Now that's bad because it's very easy when you drop your muscles to move your arm one way or another, and it's much harder to try and keep the cue online. So what we say is keep this elbow as a fixed point, and then we're just pivoting from that fixed point, and it's much easier to keep the cue online. So I'm just going to show you 2 shots now, one where I don't hit from the elbow, and then one shot where I hit properly and I hit from the elbow. So here's one that's wrong. So I'm going to have a very short backswing, and then people use the shoulder muscle. Now here's another shot. If I hit this one correctly, I use the elbow and then hit from the elbow. So there we go. Hopefully you've got a few things to think about now with your own cue action. So we've got the address position, your feathers, the pauses in your cue action, knowing the full extent of your cue action, and hitting from the elbow. And I think if you can implement some of the things we've talked about in this video today, you should have a lot more success when it comes to potting balls. So as usual, if you found this video useful, please give the video a like, and if you want to see more instructional tutorials just like this one, then please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Cheers.